Hey guys, how's it going? So back in October, when I first started this crazy game dev journey, this solo dev adventure which I'm now on, I had a lofty goal. And the goal wasn't really attainable. Like, it wasn't a realistic goal, you know? It was one of those weird things where, I wanted to get 100,000 wish lists on Long Gone one day. Before release, get 100,000 wish lists. That sounds like a nice, well-rounded number. That's where we want to get to. And the main reason why I did it is so we could, keep the community going. Make sure that I show up on Twitch every day, continue doing these devlogs, talking to the community, and really making this a job. Like, that's the main goal. Because if I could get to 100,000 wish lists, man, that would mean I would be in like the top 500 most wishlisted games on Steam. It would mean that the game would do pretty decently. I'd be okay. I'd be able to make a career out of this. But things have changed quite a bit. And that's honestly why I've not done a devlog in a couple of months, because I've just been processing things. Since the YouTube video, the teaser trailer for Long Gone went out, it's gotten almost 1 million views on YouTube now. 1 million. The game is at 140,000 wishlists. It's 350th in terms of the wishlist rankings on the entire platform. Now what? What the hell do I do now? Hi everyone and welcome. So my name is Vin. I am working on a adventure game which is set in the post-apocalypse, where you play as a character rummaging through a neighborhood and discovering the lives of the people that are no longer around, hence the name Long Gone. If you're interested in the game, then you can check out the game on Steam to wishlist it, or you can check me out on Twitch, where I stream development of the game almost every single day. Towards the end of spring, I really only had one goal, and that was to get the controller into people's hands as soon as possible. So there was a lot of work that had to be done for this, not just artwork, but also a lot of programming. Any other normal project, you'll be able to put that controller in people's hands really early on just to check if the game is fun. But with a narrative-driven game where it's really story-heavy, it's a lot more difficult to sort of do, because without that polish of like the voice acting and the world telling the story, it's really difficult to gauge if you've actually got a fun experience until all of that polish is there. And that's not to say that the entire game is going to be made like this, because it would be very silly of me to just constantly be working in polish mode. I'll be going straight back to grey box after this playtest is done. This is just a means of me to check to see if the narrative sticks and if the items are too overwhelming and things like this. As a direct continuation from the last devlog, I worked on all of the character sprite sheets as well. So the original grey shirt, like I mentioned in the last devlog, brought up a lot of reminders to people of Joel from The Last of Us, and that's something I absolutely want to get away from, even though it was meant to be a quiet nod to The Walking Dead. It never quite stuck the way that I wanted it to, so I ended up changing the character's clothes to this teal hoodie. I'm glad that I went through and did it. It also allowed me to add a few other sprite sheets as well, so it's now got a run mechanic in the game, and as I was going through all of this, it sort of came together pretty quickly, so I'm pretty happy with it. Next was the props. There was a lot of props that I needed to make for the playtest, and the reason for this is really because this is one of the core pillars of the game, is to be able to rummage through people's lives, so the only way you can really do that is by manually going through and making all of them. But what also came with this was all of the diorama shots. So all of the containers needed to be completely fleshed out, so all of the sound effects for every drawer opening, making sure that all the items read and that they all slide and move and shift as you sort of open all of these containers. All of that was super important. And at first I was hand animating all of this, which was a terrible idea, so I actually went back and implemented a tweening system. And what tweening is basically it's a way to animate through code where you say, go from point A to point B over a set amount of time, and you can do a bunch of other funky stuff like add easings and different styles, so it has like bounces and stuff to it. Super useful. And it was good that I actually had this twinning system implemented, because when it came to me implementing the item drop system, I was able to utilize it directly. So now with the item drops, it sort of drops in this circular array around the character. And the reason for that is so items don't stack upon top of each other when you're trying to navigate through. And I was able to tap into the twin and to be able to add these nice little bounces when they actually hit the floor. It was around this time that I realized that I really needed an item manager of some kind. So up until this point, how I'd sort of handled all of my items was they were scriptable objects and they were just hanging around in a random folder, and I was sort of organizing them. So every time I needed to edit an item, I would have to go into my folders and try and find the scriptable object and then sort of change all of the parameters and the variables and things like that. But with this new item system, like making a whole new tool within Unity, I was actually able to make everything in a drop down. And the great thing about this item manager, more than anything, was the fact that I could even display these little emojis. So if I had any missing information, so if the name was missing or the description, or if there was a voice line missing or something like that, then it would just display this little icon next to the item, so I'd know just at a glance what is currently missing. And it was really important that I streamlined all of the item system as much as humanly possible, because it really brought the world to life. You know, like these are the items that people left behind. But to sort of overemphasize all of this, like sometimes you find items and they trigger something called an echo. And these echoes can appear, which, you know, they sort of they show like a moment in time for the families that used to live in these houses. So you can sort of really piece together who these people were. And it just adds this whole new, well, no pun intended, but this whole new dimension to the backstories and all the narrative and how they sort of interconnect together. But it didn't stop there. So I also did an effects pass on the game because it was desperately needed at some point, just to sort of ground the player. So the first one that I did was actually with the twinning system, was with the floorboards. So there's random floorboards around the house that sort of stick up, and if the player walks over them, then they actually compress down. Also, I added dust particles and stuff, so when the player's moving around, like, it's probably still a little bit overkill. I can probably like tone it down a little bit or randomize it. And then also being able to just like kick objects around the floor. It just sort of grounds everything together and it makes it feel a little bit more alive. By the end of June, the last thing that I really had to do was the cutscenes, and this included adding sound effects as well as voice acting, as well as, you know, sort of just topping up all of the animations, because there was a couple of janky bits in all of them, so I needed to sort of go through and make sure that everything looked as polished as it could be, ready for the playtest. But overall, I was feeling pretty good about the playtest for the patrons to try out. I mean, there was a couple of things which were still a little bit janky, like the controls weren't that great. You know, there was no mouse support, there was no controller support, everything was on a keyboard. The UX wasn't great, but all of this was completely normal. For any game or any project that's at this point in production, they have all of these normal growing pains, and I have to constantly keep that in mind as I'm sort of moving forward, and just hope that the patrons can sort of, you know, squeeze through all that and use their imagination to sort of see what I'm trying to achieve. And the reason why I needed this playtest to go so smoothly was hopefully to get a bunch of feedback, and then with that feedback to be able to get a new demo ready for publishers. Because as I mentioned in a previous episode, that, you know, money was probably going to run out in the summer, and summer was now upon us. Hope to talk to you guys again soon. Cool. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Take it easy. Bye-bye. Jesus. So the game hit 100,000 wishlist, which I can't even start to get my head around that. That's incredible. But with it, like, a bunch of publishers have been getting in touch, which, you know, you would think that's amazing. That's like a huge celebration. Every indie wants to be published, right? But I mean, I've just had another meeting, and it just doesn't feel right. The numbers just don't make any sense to me whatsoever. Because the way that it's set up at the moment, it's like, if I take out a loan with them, because that's what it is, it's a loan. You know, they
hide it in different verbiage, like, you know, oh, it's recoup costs. No, it's a loan. They want 100% of the money, sometimes more than 100%. So when the game comes out, I don't even make any money for months, if not ever, you know? Like, because if the game doesn't make its money back, then I just never get paid anything. Like, zero. 100% of it goes straight to the publisher. And that's before their rev share, right? So after the recoup costs, they then get like 40 to 50, sometimes 60% of the game for 7 years. Okay? So they want 100% of their money back, sometimes more, with 50% of the game, like average it out. And then Steam take 30%, and then taxes take money. Like, developers are left with like 15% of the game, if they're lucky. Like, how you, like, I don't even care about like the money. It's about like how are indie devs supposed to build a studio? Like, how are you supposed to make it so you don't have to crawl back to the exact same publisher 5 months after a game's come out with a new prototype saying, hey, give us more money because, hey, I'm already broke because you already took all the money from my last project. I'm not saying all publishers are like this. It's just, man, like, this is so really the only options that I've really got now is hope that one of these funds, you know, get back to me, because I applied to Outersloth back in like September or something. There was another one as well which didn't get back to me whatsoever. Outersloth at least emailed me and asked me for a demo. Or crowdfunding. And if you do something like, I don't even think people trust Kickstarter anymore because of stupid like things like Ouya and crap like that, man. And then you've got to deal with all the stretch goal stuff, like making t-shirts and stuff. Like, I just want to make the game. That's it. That's all I care about. I just want to make the game.
Outside of looking for a publisher, I still had a playtest to finish. So I wanted to get the playtest out for the middle of the month, and the last things that I really needed to do was scratch vocals as well as just general sort of bug fixing. Now, scratch vocals were, you know, a little bit more challenging because my American accent is absolutely terrible. So I ended up just putting my own voice through a voice changer and just making it so it sort of sounds a bit more American. But it's all scratch vocal. Like, all this is going to get replaced by an actual voice actor when I can afford one day.
Hey, little guy. Well, that was a close call, huh?
But either way, I was thankfully able to get the playtest up and running and to over 30 people. So the only thing left to do now is to just set the page to live and wait for the feedback.
Hey guys, so a couple of updates. So a few days ago, I had a meeting with a friend of mine who's also a developer and found a lot of success with his recent project. And I'm not gonna name who it is, but yeah, like the meeting was really amazing because it sort of, you know, it sort of revitalized my hope in the industry a little bit. In that, you know, there's people out there that care about, you know, indie developers and what it is we're doing. And because I've been spiraling over the last couple of months about, you know, how publishers they're just thinking about this. That's it, right? And to sort of put his money where his mouth is, he offered to potentially fund Long Gone. And he said he's gonna talk to a lawyer and sort of figure out how we can get it done. Which that would have been amazing in and of itself. But then yesterday, I had a meeting with Outersloth, which, if you don't know who Outersloth are, they're another arm of the company of Innersloth, which are the folks that make Among Us. Like, they were so successful that they teamed up with a few other developers and decided to start an indie fund.
There's been so many great indie games in recent years, but it's also been no secret that it's kind of a rough time in the industry. Some devs don't really get the chance they deserve, so we thought we could help out a little bit. That's why we're excited to announce our side project, Outersloth, an indie game fund we made that offers the kind of deals we would have wanted back in our less popular Among Us days.
Even if none of these things work out, even if my friend like goes to his lawyer and like figures, this isn't worth it, or Outersloth don't decide to go with the project or whatever, or regardless of all of that, just the conversations with these people, like it was so refreshing to not hear, how do I get mine for 5 minutes? You know what I mean? It was just, you can tell they really care. Both of these feel right. And I've gone from, like 6 meetings I had last month with publishers that were just wild. Going from that to talking with, my friend and also Outersloth has just been, it's been so refreshing. So man, I really do hope I get it.
Yeah. It's surreal to be here. It really is. And I can't thank you all enough. Everyone that's tuned in on the YouTube channel, that watched me on Twitch, that supported me on Discord, people that have messaged me, commented, supported me directly on Patreon. Like, all of you've even if you don't realize it, you've contributed to pushing that boulder up that hill with me. Just even by a little. And you've helped me get here, and I really do appreciate it. Obviously, there's a lot of feedback from the playtests, and most of it was positive. There was, I think the game is sat at like a 7 at the moment, which is expected for the current stage that it's in. The extra 2 points are going to get picked up somewhere through either polish, art, streamlining the things that people have spoken about. Lots of complaints about the UX, lots of complaints about the controls, which fully expected. But all of that's going to get ironed out, and that's what we're going to be working on. But yeah. Like, the last few months have been just a slog, but now things have really like come together, and things are about to change. Like, we're about to start hiring people, which is a weird thing to even think about. It's going to be worth it because I'm feeling really good about this. 140,000 wish list now. The channels are all growing. Game's fully funded. We're now in open ocean, and we're just sailing. And I can feel, it sounds stupid, but I can feel the wind in the sails, I can feel the wind in the sails. And that, it's just the best feeling ever. I hope we're going in the right direction.